UK brand. I remember I had read something along the lines of that you, along with a bunch of others, were sort of offered an extended opportunity to work with WWE to some capacity. I didn't really get into the specifics of it, but more so just an opportunity that, assuming it was with the NXT UK brand. If that is accurate, more so along the lines of just like, obviously you didn't go that route, but what was sort of your mindset at that time as far as like going that route isn't something that was necessarily something you was looking for, and just wasn't wasn't something necessarily you was looking to lean towards at that time of your career. Sort of walking through your headspace at that point.
I mean, for me, like WWE was never like my goal in wrestling. I think I watched WWE when I was a kid, obviously, and then when I was like 10 or 11 years old, I kind of had that period where I like fell out of interest with wrestling for a little bit, and then what got me back into it was there was a TV station called the Wrestling Channel for a short while in the UK, and they would show like a bunch of indie wrestling. It was like the first time I saw Ring of Honor and CZW, and they would show Pro Wrestling Noah and stuff on there, which kind of like led me down the rabbit hole into discovering like all the indie companies in Japan and becoming a fan of like Big Japan and DDT and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's necessary. I guess I just have a different perspective to a lot of people, but I think sometimes people's judgment gets like stuck in one place in terms of like goals, maybe. Obviously, like there's a lot of my generation that came up watching WWF, WCW in like the Attitude Monday Night Wars era or whatever, and I think for a lot of people they have like the same story as me, as then like they found other things and they watched other things and that took their interest, but for whatever reason their goal stays fixated on that one thing being like WWE, because it's like, oh, I watched it when I was a kid, that's my dream, I want to go there or whatever. But I think you have to like realistically look at it in the sense of, even if that was what you loved growing up, it's so different these days to what it was when you were a fan of it when you were a kid or whatever. And I mean, for me especially, like I just look at WWE now, and then like a few years ago, it was just never a goal for me. Like my goal was always to go to Japan and do stuff over there, and I never really had any interest in not even just going, but like I remember around the same time there was a lot of people who were like, they wanted to try out so that they could like, try and get an opportunity and whatever, and it just never, even that didn't really appeal to me. I got offered the tryout, I think in 2018.
I think that was 17. Because what
17
was that,
maybe.
What was that, the one at the O2?
Yeah, that was the one, yeah. Before, 17.
Before Raw SmackDown, right? Like y'all had the thing it was like a taping they were doing over there in the UK. I think it was.
Was that 2017?
Yeah, that was 2017. The 2018 one, I think that was like right around the time where they was like about to launch like the actual like NXT UK like brand. Like that was the thing.
Jesus.
And then 2017.
Where is
I think that
where's
was,
life going? It's running away.
I
was at 2017.
I know, right? Time flying, man.
So I got offered like the tryout thing first, and I remember when they called me, I was like, I think I spoke to maybe Pete Dunne about it at the time. And I was like, they've offered me a tryout thing, but I don't think I'm gonna go. He was like, what do you mean you're not gonna go? And I was like, what? Like, there's nothing that I want to get out of it, so it doesn't feel worthwhile going. And then I think he convinced me. He was like, even if you don't want to get anything from it, you should still go and just get the experience. Which he was right. Like I'm glad I got to do it and got to have that tryout and like do it in the O2 and stuff. It was like a cool 2 days and whatever. And then when they decided they wanted to start the UK brand, I guess maybe a year or so after, they offered me like a position in it. But they like offered so many people contracts and whatever. Like they really like cast a wide net at the time, and they offered me one of the deals, same as like the other guys. And I thought about it. I think the initial one was like a year or 2 year thing, and I guess if that's 2018, I was like 27 ish around that time. And like my mentality towards it was like, of course, it's only 2 years or whatever, but no one knew how it was going to pan out. No one knew like what the exclusivity to it would be. And I didn't feel really like done by any means of doing like indie wrestling and stuff that I wanted to do. My goal was still always Japan. And I was like, if it's 2 years, I'm 27, 28 now. By the time like it ends, I'll already be like 29, 30, which is not like old or near the end of your career. But I looked at those 2 years and I thought those 2 years, that period from like 27 to 29, 28 to 30 or whatever it is, I think it's like really important. Those are going to be like critical years to your development as a wrestler and, you know, like what you want to do. And I was like, I don't want to spend those years potentially in a situation that I don't want to be in or not enjoying it. And yeah, my goal was Japan, and I said no to the thing, which a lot of people at the time told me I was crazy because I had like at the time too, I had like no into Japan in any way. It was still like a very unobtainable thing. It was kind of like one of those quiet goals that you don't want to like. I didn't say to people at the time, oh, I said no because I want to go to Japan, because it seemed like going to Japan was like, I couldn't imagine it being a thing that would happen. It was just like in the back of my mind, as like, I'd love to do that one day, and I don't want to potentially not be able to do it because of doing something that I don't really want to be doing. And then everyone was like, "Oh, you're an idiot. You're stupid. Why did you say no?" Blah 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 blah, blah. All that kind of that jazz. And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine, whatever." And then maybe 5 or 6 months after, everything was like starting to move with that. And then there was like a Fight Club show one time before we arrived there. And Trent Seven was like, big news. And I was like, what's that? And he was like, next January, Fight Club Pro show at Korakuen Hall. And I was like, fuck off. You're not doing a Fight Club Pro show at Korakuen. Well, Trent Seven would always have like these ideas of these grand things that were going to happen. And I was like, yeah, bullshit. I'll believe it when I'm on the plane. And then January 2019, I was on the plane going to Tokyo. We did the show at Korakuen, and it kind of worked out to be kind of like a festival show in itself, where there was like people from every company on the show. Cool. Because of that, like a lot of like prominent people in like the Japanese indie scene and whatever came along to watch. And it turned out that Sanshiro Takagi came and watched them in backstage. I think Konosuke Takeshita went and watched it, and he liked me and like us. And then we did that show in January, and maybe February or March, pretty soon after, out of the blue one day, get an email. DDT wants to bring you over for a tour. So it all worked out. It all worked.
Yeah. I'm about to say it all worked.